All right, let's continue then.
Oh, hey, it's
Welcome
Target
back
Mannequin.
to welcome back to The Last of Us Forever, because that's what it feels like it's going on for fucking ever.
Welcome back to the last of.
Dweb, stop being homophobic. You need to like this game, or you're a homophobic. As Neil said.
If not liking this game makes me a homophobe, then actually no, I'm not going to entertain that matter because it's stupid.
Exactly.
Hey, it's Ghostbusters 2016 all over again, and that movie was totally a success, right?
Hey, I'll be the one to entertain it. Why not? If me not liking this game makes me homophobic, then I hate myself.
You actually
No. Sure.
I have a lot of self-hatred.
No. Sure, I figured it out. See, sure. What happens is when Dwebs does it, he's being homophobic. When you're doing it, you're being transphobic. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
You see? that's how it is. As long as you're always phobic of something.
So
I mean how I could say something like I don't like bounty bars, and that apparently makes me coconut phobic. Or
yes.
Something.
So by that logic, if I said that, I wish that they had, instead of Carol Danvers, Monica Rambeau be the Captain Marvel of the MCU movie, I wouldn't be sexist. I'd just be considered racist.
Exactly.
For wanting the character of color to be it instead of the usual typical Caucasian.
Well, no, Joe, but
isn't there another Miss Marvel going about?
No, Joe. I think a better example would be this. It would be something if we can bring up something like what's like a movie that's known for having bad portrayal of Song of the South. There you go. Let's do Song of the South.
Wait, bad portrayal of what?
Of African Americans.
Oh. Okay.
Let's do Song of the South, since that's one of the most popular examples. Like, it's like if you. Well, actually, no. Never mind. I think here's a better example, Jova. It's like if someone made a movie that tries to be, have good representation of the African American community, but does it badly, and you call out its bullshit as you should. And then you're called a racist for it. So, which makes no sense. So,
really doesn't. Anyway, Droops, to answer your question, yes, there is a Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. What I'm saying is I would have preferred if for the Captain Marvel movie, instead of doing the boring thing and going with Carol Danvers, that they had gone with the second Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau.
I mean, speaking as someone who hasn't read comics, it doesn't matter to me which version of whatever character they use, as long as they're fun to watch.
Sure.
I can even bring up female examples that are good. Black Widow. I mean, as a bit dry as I find Scarlett Johansson's acting at times, for the most part, she still does the role well, and the role is written well for the most part.
Oh, of course.
Whereas so far from the films I've seen with Captain Marvel in them, her own and Endgame, there was the Infinity War post credits. Actually, I don't think that was it. No.
That doesn't count. That was literally just her symbol.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's a bad example. But yeah, so far, all I know about Carol Danvers is she's apparently mastered the art of simultaneously showing emotion while not at the same time. She has every superpower ever. Okay, that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but it still feels like it.
She's too OP. That's a bit.
You are not at fault. Literally, Kevin Feige introduced her saying she's the most powerful character in the MCU, and that was pretty much it for her character.
There's one other thing. Jova, there's one other thing I know about her.
What?
She is snarky sometimes.
Yeah.
But don't you see
the whole thing about her emotion is actually something that there is a point to it in the movie. Whether it's done well or not can be discussed then. But I'll mention more when we actually get to that.
Here's the problem, Webs. You're a white man, so you're part of the patriarchy. So, as Bry Larson puts it, do not count. You know, as for you, Jova, even though you're
I
not,
just said I like Scarlett
Even
Johansson as Black Widow.
and as again, I'm going for Brie Larson. So like, and as for you, Jova, even though you're not white, you are a man. Therefore, you are a sexist pig, and you do not count either. And neither do I. Neither do I. She said something about I don't care about what white misogynist men think about this movie, or something along those lines.
Yeah, it was about A Wrinkle in Time.
No. Brie Larson was not in.
Time.
Brie Larson was not in Wrinkle in Time. She right? I don't
No,
remember.
she wasn't in that, but I mean, I vaguely remember what she said.
She was talking about what the substance material was about. It's about how A Wrinkle in Time was getting pretty bad reception. Now, God forbid it was because the movie was bad. It's just that Wrinkle in Time was, directed by a black woman, and people thought, hey, Black Panther worked out, and that had a lot of a black crew behind it. And so surely Wrinkle in Time would. Don't get me wrong. I will not deny that the director behind Wrinkle in Time had the best of, she had the best of intentions, and she is by no means a bad director. She just ended up doing a crap movie. That said, from what Shirley recalls, Brie Larson sort of took that as, the industry is ruled by white male misogynists.
Yeah, it might have come across wrong, but what she was trying to say was she wants more diversity in movie reviewing, but that doesn't change the fact whether a movie is bad or not.
Hey, is that a familiar hand I see?
I remember the scene from.
Right
I remember the scene from the trailer.
What the hell are you doing here?
Fuck off, game. Fuck off.
And it turns out it's Jesse instead
Not
of
Joel.
Not that I hate Jesse. Jesse's actually one of the few characters in this game that I can tolerate. But still.
So, Ellie, let me see if I can get this straight. You left my ex, who is very sick, all off on her own? At least.
Wait, does he even know? Does he even know that?
No. Ellie just told him she's sick, but don't worry, she's fine.
Oh, okay, sure.
That's the thing, though. If I were Jesse, I'd question the rationality of leaving, a sick member behind.
Well, to be fair, Jova, I mean, if she's too sickly to fight, maybe it would be best for her to stay in the theater. I kind of have to.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but by that logic, though, shouldn't Ellie have maybe stayed with her until she felt well enough?
Jova, maybe that's the idea. Maybe that's the idea, Jova. Maybe that's supposed to be your cue that Ellie's starting to lose sight of what should be her priorities.
The thing is that the characters never call her out for it, so as far as the story goes, it's not really suggesting that this is one of Ellie's wrongdoing.
That's the problem, yeah. I brought that up in the previous part, yeah, that's the big problem. The characters never actually address the issues. The issues are technically there, but the characters never actually address on this and reflect on this, and as a result, we never actually explore these issues in depth. Go ahead.
The story has messed up priorities, to sum it up.
Go ahead.
Anyway, it's interesting you mentioned Wrinkle in Time earlier, Jova, because apparently Ava DuVernay was apparently at least considered to direct Black Panther, but
but
either she left the movie or wasn't. I'm not sure whether she was hired in the first place.
And now we know why.
but from what I understand, one of the biggest problems with Wrinkle in Time was it CGI, and I'm just imagining now. I mean, you guys know my one of my issues with Black Panther.
Yes, as we know. It's just an excuse for you to complain more about that.
Well, no. If you let me finish, I'd explain more.
Go ahead.
Let him finish.
Because one of my issues with Black Panther was CGI. But could you imagine if it were DuVernay directing that film? It'd be even worse.
I mean, that's the thing about Black Panther. I mean, again, Dwibs, one thing we can't deny, that movie was given a pretty crap budget by MCU standards, so they had to do literally the best of that they could with a lot of those scenes, especially the big battle scene, because Disney, in their ever-long running flow of wisdom, thought that Black Panther
I think we're about to get one of those moments.
Don't think it helps what happened in Infinity War as well.
Oh, never mind. Never mind. Jesse took him out. Okay. Never mind. No. Well, regardless, no. But she also did that with Captain Marvel, though. That's the thing. Like, Brie Larson is exactly the problem with Brie Larson. Like, you're not allowed, you're not allowed to criticize anything that involves LGBT people or African Americans unless you're actually part of those communities. That's the basic. According to.
That sounds incredibly narrow-minded.
Yeah.
And it's not just us. Apparently, some of her fellow MCU actors aren't too fond of her too. If certain interviews or anything.
Yeah, I have seen little bits and pieces about people just don't really get along.
Anyway, set piece.
How ironic! In that way, she's fitting to play Carol Danvers. Look, I'll just give the lowdown here. Marvel did not do any favors picking Carol Danvers to be Captain Marvel. And of course, anyone who's followed up with the MCU knows the real reason why Carol Danvers was picked. Because in the comics, she was pushed up to be Captain Marvel mainly because Marvel had this sick obsession with always trying to follow the MCU across all
Alright, can we get back to the game,
media.
though? Okay.
You've gone on topic too before, but go on.
Oh yeah, but I was trying to say it.
Okay, let's since there is actually something going on, let's just.
Yeah.
Basically, we're trying to run away, and yeah. So basically, we now have an Uncharted style set piece, kind of.
Well, that with an Uncharted style section that lasted like how long? 15 seconds.
Well, this is not an Uncharted game, so I don't mind that.
Yeah, we're not going to have any long, elaborate set pieces.
Oh boy.
It wouldn't really make sense to have that in a game like this, anyway.
Oh goody, cordyceps.
Well, at least you don't have to do both the driving and the shooting. I'm glad at that.
All right. So yeah.
Thank you, Pa.
All right. So there we go. Oh crap.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I can never keep my eyes open underwater.
I always prefer goggles. I'll just say this, avoid the mini bubbles. They tend to burn the eyes.
That's why I wear goggles, so I don't have to worry about that.
Okay, so Jesse was added to your party.
No, this game is not worth it.
Well, I mean, he is one of the better characters.
He is, but this game is not worth it.
Pedro's so disenchanted by this game, he can't even muster up the Dragon Quest theme anymore.
Honestly,
join the party jingle, yeah. Because the Dragon Quest has always had this join party jingle ever since Dragon Quest 2. So.
All right, so back to looking for Tommy.
Actually, no, we're gonna go back to the theater so that Jesse can check up on because Jesse wants to check up on Dina.
You know, I kind of wish we were looking for Johnny from the room. That'd be more fun.
Sorry,
pretty much my point earlier exactly.
Hey, honey. Hey, honey, I'm back. I mean, Ellie's saying it, not Jesse.
Okay.
Nothing, we'll sleep and take care.
We should get inside. Yeah. Okay.
But I thought you were inside.
Well, actually, no.
Outside the theater.
Actually, no, Debs. That was not the inside. Actually, now we're inside.
It looked like they were inside.
Well, they weren't.
It's just a stomach thing.
You know, Dina. We're gonna have to have a talk about you not telling other people things.
Like, okay, it's probably his since it can't possibly be Ellie's, so why not tell him? And don't give any bullcrap. Oh, he'd worry too much. Seriously, had enough of that in Pearl Harbor.
Not just that, Jova. Her excuse is it wasn't the right time. All right, you guys up for another flashback?
Oh,
No.
joy. Okay, this flashback.
Dwebs, we get more Joel at least, so that's nice.
Is it though?
Spouting a rat tail. What a weird hairdo for Joel to have.
Well, Dwebs, I know you don't. I know you're one of the ones that doesn't like Joel's actions at the end of the first game, but you have to admit that it's at least a more compelling character than any of the people in this game.
Well, that's kind of the problem. The rest of the story has been so boring that not even going back to
The first game, yeah,
Joel
no,
can really excite me all that much.
no, I understand that. Anyway,
It's like you're given bland, boring porridge for breakfast.
I feel like Dina's avoiding me. Kat says she's just jealous. Hold on,
Song lyrics, yeah.
I actually have something else to do there. I just had the best day of my life. Kat was finishing another session on my arm and then climbed up on top of me and kissed me. I threw her off of me. I yelled at her. I thought I infected her. I mean, I'm infected, sort of. I don't know how the fuck this shit transfers. What if she turns? Why would I tell people? She's got family. I told her we should go. There you go. That's how Ellie knows that she can't get Dina infected, because I told her we should take a walk. I lied and said I'd never kissed anyone, that I was just nervous. She was actually sweet about my freak out. We spent the day walking and talking. Then she came to my place for a movie. So there you go, Shira. This is Ellie's previous girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, I was just gonna say it's like you're given bland, boring porridge.
She fell asleep. You finished that thought, Tips. You finished already. She fell asleep and I sat up all night watching her, looking for signs of infection. The next morning she was fine. Nothing. I'm not contagious. And Kat likes me. What a fucking roller coaster.
I mean, okay.
she's not wrong.
Unless the infection happens later, but woohoo!
Well, no, fortunately it didn't, as we know.
Anyway, Dwebs, you were saying?
I was just to say it's like you're given bland, boring, grey porridge under the promise that, hey, don't worry, you can have berries in it. That's not going to help much.
Kat's the fucking best. That is all. So on patrol today, Jessie told me Kat referred to me as her girlfriend. She's so open about everything. She talks out to our mom about us. She held my hand when we were all out at the lake. Kissed me in front of our friends. Everyone seems to know except for Joel. Should I tell him? I don't know. I don't know how he'd react.
I think a good way of putting it also is like, well, imagine if, per se, you're out in a desert. Sure, occasionally you may find a pond or tiny pool of water, but you still have to sojourn through that desert, and you know it's gonna be unpleasant.
I feel like
porridge isn't that boring.
I feel like Dina's avoiding me. Kat says she's just jealous about how I'm spending my time. I keep trying to invite Dina along, but she keeps saying she's busy. Then there's some more
possible jealousy, I wonder.
Well, most likely, yeah. Then there's some songwriting, the blah, 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 the constellations in the sky, ink on your skin, that covers the scars, the burns. It smells like wet leaves and firewood out here. So basically, you see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Those events with Kat, those sound like a lot more interesting. I would like to see that. Can we have a game about that? Because that sounds already a lot more interesting than what's going on in the present timeline of this game.
I don't know if it's just me, but I could not care less about the different song lyrics. Things like, sure, maybe it's going to add up to something, but it just feels like
it's not going to add
words at this point.
It's not going to add up to anything. It's just there for detail purposes.
It's fine, I guess.
It's just for the purpose of adding to the guitar theme. That thing Ellie is going on for the game. But anyway. You see, this is exactly my problem. These flashbacks are hints of a much better sequel we could have gotten, because a lot of these flashbacks suggest to events and themes that would be a lot more interesting to explore than the fucking revenge plot.
Like I said before, imagine if this game, for the most part, was, if anything, more like a daily slice of life stuff. Yes, as hokey as that may sound. Imagine if a lot of it was just the life and times of Ellie growing up.
Yeah, why not just have that?
Look at this. Cute bonding time, taking out zombies. Again, this feels more quirky and upbeat, despite us technically being on border patrol.
It's basically Tommy.
Technically bonding time.
Well, technically in this case, Shiroi, it's uncle and the niece bonding time because it's Tommy. So.
No. I thought he looked too weird to be Joel with that pony rat tail.
No. This is Tommy teaching Ellie how to use a sniper rifle.
Still, though, yeah, uncle niece
Okay,
bonding
this
time.
game, this also serves as a tutorial for how to use sniper rifles in the game, because you have to, considering this game is realistic weapon mechanics, you have to account for when you shoot from very far, the gravity is going to be a factor. So when you shoot and aim, you have to take gravity into account, which of course makes sense. So the game uses this and even gives you infinite ammo as an excuse to allow you to practice your sniper rifling skills with infinite ammo as much as you want, basically.
Again, maybe some people would think it would be odd to go for a more lighthearted adventure, but honestly, Last of Us could have pulled it up, Maybe a more lighthearted adventure. I mean, sure, there's always the danger of the infected and whatnot, but just seeing how the community itself is growing and evolving.
You could have had the dark stuff.
Feeling.
You could have just had the more serious elements be the growing tension between Ellie and Joel. How about that?
And like I said, you could have pulled a Red Dead Redemption 2 and maybe have Joel's death be near the end, and then have that be about, Ellie reconciling with either vengeance or letting it go. Which, again, is sort of the Red Dead Redemption formula. You spend a lot of the game playing as a certain person who, let's just say, meets something of a tragic yet heroic end. Well, okay, that depends on Red Dead Redemption 2 based off of your actions. But still, and then you play the rest of the game as another character who, let's just say, is not too happy about the death of that character and sees fit to it to get vengeance, with the proper consequences still being a factor.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
I mean, for as much as a tutorial as this is, this actually feels more legit fun than most of the game. And again, I don't mean this as just, it plays better. I mean, like, the experience as a whole feels better. Like, combining the gameplay with the story pacing and all, this feels like a better section than a lot of the other gameplay here and there.
Indeed. Again, it's one of those cases where the focus of the story is exactly what we've all wanted anyway. The ever-growing suspicion of Ellie regarding what happened at the end of the first game, and Joel eventually being fine. Yes, technically it is indeed the lie reveal thing, but honestly, I'll take this over what the actual main story is, to be honest with you.
Lest we forget, that was literally the main reason most people wanted a sequel to Last of Us 2, was to see, how Ellie would react here and there. Now, granted, again, like I said, ironically, if anything, Last of Us 2 has made more people side with Joel in his actions.
I will also tell you that
making the Fireflies come off as even worse people than imagined before, and considering the person who actually kills him, mind you.
I will also tell you this, considering you, like you yourself said, you wanted Joel to have, to get some consequences for his actions. Well, I can tell you that I think the consequences he does go through in these flashbacks are much more interesting and less, drastic. That actually gives a lot more. That are far more interesting than going everybody's golf on this crap. So,
like Dwibs himself said, for as much as he wasn't too fond of Joel's actions, even he believed that Joel didn't deserve that.
Well, not necessarily that he didn't deserve to die. It's just that his death should, at the very least, had some kind of greater point in the story.
Well, it was more like he said that it didn't deserve to be like that. Dwibs, what? Recap for the audience your stance on the situation.
Like I said previously, I wasn't in agreement with what Joel did at the end of the first game.
Mm-hmm.
The main problem, and I didn't have much of an issue with him dying, because like a lot of other people, I kind of figured it was going to happen in this game anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The main issue was the execution.
Exactly.
It's like this random. I mean, if it was someone related to one of the Fireflies, or even like their higher ups or something, that then Yeah, then it'd add up. Someone's really pissed that someone just came along and killed a loved one of theirs, so they were on the hunt for them. So for Joel, I mean.
Well,
From what I understand, though, it's not really like that.
well,
Let me put it like this.
I'll say this, that you have a surprise coming to you when we reach the halfway point. But go on, Joel.
Let me put it this. Like you said, it relies on the execution.
Yeah.
Things aren't exactly cut and dry. Like I said, the problem is the retcon this game makes to Last of Us 1, which, let me put it like this, is an incredibly stupid retcon that doesn't really do the narrative that Joel had this coming any favors.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. They actively changed some of the events in Last of Us 1, and it didn't help this game out one iota. You would think that if you're going to retcon something, you would do it to use it to your advantage to paint Joel in a negative light, but it doesn't.
No. Anyway, to recap what happened. Basically, after Ellie and Tommy finished their patrol, Ellie has been feeling a bit quiet lately, and Joel is getting a bit worried. Tommy was not supposed to tell her this because Joel was just talking, having a private talk with his brother. But Tommy is worried about the whole situation, so he decided to tell Ellie, unbeknownst to Joel. It's like, look, just talk to him, so you can be assured that everything's all right. And I was like, well, I do talk to him, and Tommy's like, you have to do a bit more than just hello and goodbye. So, so basically, this is of course the game showing the first signs that as she grows up, Ellie's starting to get more and more suspicious of what happened at the end of the first game.
One thing I kind of missed, but now realize, is that Ellie did show about a suspicion even at the end of Last of Us 1 as well.
True. However, considering what happened, my guess is at the end of the first game, she was all like, okay then. So she was just willing to take his word for it because she didn't really have much reason not to. However, as she kept growing and, starting to think more about it, she started to, think, hold on, there may be some. Hold on, I think I need some more explanation on this. But we'll see in a few minutes anyway. So.
I don't think we can go this way. What?
Well, what now?
Okay, so now what? I'm up for it.
What could possibly go wrong in there?
Exactly. Oh, by the way, I love one of the lines that Ellie has in her journal. Cat's the fucking best.
Whatever. We don't get to meet Cat, so I don't really care.
That's the interesting. Neither do I, Joe. But at the same time, again, even the journal stuff in this flashbacks is more interesting than the main, or at the very least, potentially more interesting than the actual main plot of this bloody thing. So again, that's the primary frustration when it comes to these flashbacks, because they're snippets of a much better sequel that we could have gotten.
Okay, let me just point out a big problem with the main narrative right now. We have spent so long spinning our wheels, and we haven't even really got on the track of catching up to Abby. I mean, that was originally the intent, but now it's like, hey, now we gotta go and try and find Tommy. Well, we didn't succeed in finding Tommy, but we found Jesse, so now let's go back to Dina, and then we'll work on finding Tommy, and then maybe we can work on finding Abby. It's like an RPG where you have to do, first you have to do this quest, to do this quest, to do this quest, to do this quest, to do what you originally were trying to do, but you have to do all these tiny little favors. The difference is that an RPG has a better sense of story and pacing, and usually do get some nice little fun stuff along with those quests here and there. Whereas here, it's hard for the characters to care after Joel is dead, yes. But at this point here, the focus really should just be on trying to get to Abby. But it takes so long, and there's not really anything to spice up the venture in between. Like, in Last of Us, we were constantly meeting new characters,
You know what this feels like,
new
Joel?
allies, or sometimes people who betrayed us. David, okay, You know, it's a good example of a detour here. David and the cannibals. Like, David was quite possibly the closest thing Last of Us had to a proper antagonist of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying, Pedro?
You know what this feels like, Jova, in a lot of ways? It feels like the original idea was to indeed have this, have these flashbacks be basically the main plot and have the whole game be around it. But then somewhere along the line, Neo got given the role of vice president and decided, you know what? No, let me throw in this stupid other plot about these other groups of people this other group of people from Seattle that nobody gives a crap about. I
mean, we already know that he has made changes to the story, so maybe.
And what we're seeing here are leftovers from the much better original game that we were maybe gonna get.
It really does feel like leftovers, considering how much the game has to pad the hell out of stuff.
Oh, that's the thing, Jova. Like we've discussed, this game loves to waste the audience's time.
Are you looking forward to the added DLC? I mean, the final hours of this game.
Last thing of it. It's funny you mentioned on the subject of DLC. They said there isn't going to be any for this game.
No, Neil.
Thank God.
Neil already said that that this is the end of the Last of Us series, apparently.
Well, on the one hand, I guess it can't get any worse, and people can now just pretend that
it can't get any worse if there's nothing afterwards.
And now we can just pretend that Last of Us 1 was the end, because, at this point I prefer Last of Us 1 being the end.
Yeah, like somebody said on YouTube, maybe we should have just left it at okay.
Like, we could have just ended it on an ambiguous ending, like maybe Ellie will figure it out or not. Like, God, it is literally Monkey Paw City here. It's something that we wanted. Really did want here and there, but when we got it, oh boy, was it an abomination, to say the least. Yeah, cordyceps corpses.
Yeah, so basically...
Is everywhere.
Keep that in mind.
I don't give a shit. Where's my...
bear?
Yeah, my fare. I want to get paid, damn it. I drove this bus.
Yeah, I'm not paying to play this game. I think the game should pay me.
If it paid me, I'd play it.
But anyway, keep in mind, like you said, like the only people that ever missing from Jackson was those teenagers from last year. Keep that in mind for later.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, but this is part of patrol. We have to clear out any infected we find to make sure, we can secure the places. Good job, Joel. Yeah, and Joel is already a much better AI partner than Dina is. I'm guessing it's intentional because, Joel is such a veteran of this at this point.
I've noticed that the infected like to go more for the striking at you rather than just go straight for the biting like they did in the first game. Weirdly enough.
Well, it depends, Joe, but the clickers go straight for the biting.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in The Last of Us, I recall the runners went more straight for the biting as well, as opposed to the swinging at you arms flailing trick.
Well, it depends on what kind of infected. The runners don't immediately go for the biting, even in the first game.
Well, that's what I say. I recall them going more for the biting more often than not.
I'll have to play the first game again just so I can properly compare.
Hey, a perfect excuse to play the first game and wash your hands of this piece of trash. Well,
no, my copy of Ghost of Tsushima arrives tomorrow, so I'll just play that instead. Alright.
Wasn't there one more behind you? Oh, guess not.
No. Remember, Joe, but if the music calms down, that means you're done. So.
Imagine if the game tried to do a fake out with you with that.
Well, sometimes, as we've seen, sometimes there are intentional jump scares for the purposes of surprise. But outside of that, no.
So, okay, then.
Another thing that also Joel earlier said that we talked over it, but Joel said also put on your mask. Why? It's just us two here, and Joel, but what if we find someone? So again, it was actually on Joel's advice that Ellie kept her immunity hidden because, as Joel puts it, like
oh boy.
there we go. As we saw in the first game with the cannibals, people can be quite get nervous and even shoot her if they see a bite on her hand, and we even see a bit of it in the climax of this game even. So I can understand Joel's worries. I mean, it's not like it's any of other people's business anyway, so it's not like she has to tell them. All right. Wow, so many infected. Oh, well, crap.
You know, it's interesting on the day that we're recording this part. Ghost of Tsushima is going to be released tomorrow, and yeah, even though I probably won't be getting the game straight away because of budget, I'm so much looking I'm much looking forward to that game more than than I was for this game before the leaks came out.
Well,
but especially after the leaks came out, because Ghost of Tsushima, because Ghost of Tsushima looks exciting. You know, it has a lot of cool stuff you can do as a samurai, and it too looks to have its dark moments.
Well, it's a story.
I'm getting the feeling it's gonna work better there than how they handle the dark moments here.
I think it's a good point of time groups to bring up. Yeah, the advertising for this game was pretty bad. Like, even before the leaks came out, there was the whole needless focusing on violence here and there, and
also so much lying to everyone.
Yeah,
that too. Yeah,
I mean, you could say. I mean, there's been some comparisons, or at the very least, I might have noticed some to other games that might have had some interpret to be misleading marketing. Like, I won't go too much into it because that's a different playthrough. But there was the 7 remake, for example. People thought, based on the advertising, that they were going to get a faithful remake of the original 7, just in different parts and with some added character stuff.
Well,
instead we got what we got.
I'm gonna have to say to you, Dwebs, that it's while I understand your point. Oh, bloater. So yeah, boss battle. Okay, I'll get to your point, Dwebs. Just give me a moment. Okay, so much like in the first game, the bloaters are incredibly strong. Don't you even dare allow that thing to get near you. It will kill you instantly. So basically, here's what you do. Joe will be helping you, and don't worry, he has Naughty Dog NPC immunity. He won't die. He'll be fine. The best thing you can do is, while Joel helps you, and will even try to distract them and shit, do your best to take care of any runners that come towards your path, because there are some runners who will also come in. They can die easily with the hunting rifle that I'm using anyway. And try your best to shoot the bloater in the head, because it's in the head that they get hurt the most. So make sure you try your best with headshots. That will kill him faster. Anyway.
Kind of ironic, isn't it? Normally, shooting a clicker in the head is the worst place to shoot them. But now that their skin is hardened to this point, the head is now the weakest point.
Well, actually, no, Joe, but the best way to kill a clicker is for the headshot as well.
I'm pretty sure that, because of the armoring on their plating here, the head was more resilient than the body for a clicker.
It is. For example, if you use your handgun and you headshot a runner, he will die immediately because it's a shot to the head. However, with that same gun, it takes 2 headshots to kill a clicker. So the armoring of the head is still a factor. It's just, but it's still the best. But it's still better than just shooting the body because the clickers take longer to kill if you shoot the body.
Huh, I thought that they went down quicker if you shooted them in places that weren't the head because of the armoring on the head.
My guess is they're operating on typical shooting mechanics logic where, headshots are more damaging and shit.
So you were saying, Pedro, about the example I gave earlier?
To address your point, Dwibs, I'm going to have to say that I don't think it's quite the same thing. Well, and let me explain. While it is true that Square didn't tell us that the game was going to be a meta commentary on remakes and the public's perception of it, at the same time they didn't put in the actual ending of the Midgar arc from the original game and just do it and just portray it in the trailers in a way that is not in the final game. Technically, everything we see in the trailers is in the final game. There was no actual, made-up scenes for the trailers like in Last of Us Part 2. So technically, Square didn't lie; they just omitted, and that's a very important difference, I would argue. Last of Us flat out lied to its audience. Final Fantasy VII Remake only omitted, and that's very different.
Did you see that? Joel just single-handedly took down a bloater with a machete.
Also,
that's how awesome Joel is. Go ahead.
But yeah, people could argue that they lied to, reinforce, the plot twists and whatever. But if you have to do that to make your plot twists work, then they're not very good.
You're talking about this game?
Yeah, for this game.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay.
Where it turns out, that wasn't Joel.
Sure. And that can technically be done well. The best example, of course, is Metal Gear Solid 2. The thing is, Metal Gear, like we've talked about before, Metal Gear Solid 2 was a game about how digital information is deceptive, and the game intentionally will incorporate that and make the player.
This game doesn't have that luxury.
Yeah,
one thing you could say against the 7 remake was, it was based on a game that already had its own commentary on stuff, but then all of a sudden they got shifted to be about Destiny, even though that wasn't what it was about the first time around.
Well, technically we don't know. For all we know, maybe that was always the intention from the beginning. The only thing we know is that the only point that I was trying to make is that technically there was no lying, there was just omission, which is a very different thing. But go ahead, Joe, finish.
Well, now, again, if you want to talk about a trailer that technically was to do better here, again, I have to compare this to Undertale. Now, granted, this is kind of a more lighter version here, and yes, I know once again, but I guess that's just a sign that Undertale did a lot of the stuff better here, but...
Even though it could have used a lot of improvement itself,
I thought you were going to say Doki Doki Literature Club or something. Now that's a trailer that hid what the game was actually.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That too. You know what? I'll use both of those games as examples. Let's talk about Doki Doki Literature Club here, and I'll just say the trailer lies about everything.
Yeah, that's another.
That is exactly. Here's the thing, though. The way the game is advertised, that's how it's supposed to work.
Well, yeah.
In a way, they are sort of telling the truth here. It's when a certain character starts messing with things that things sort of get revealed their true nature.
You can tell Dan was counting on word of mouth to do the work for him. But anyway, cutscene.
Sure would suck if a bloater were waiting in there to nab her.
Fortunately, we already dealt with the boss, so...
Okay... It's time for another plot revelation. Hey, look at that! A jump scare.
Well, I would argue this is more build-up to the third flashback, where finally Joel's lie is exposed.
And that body represents this game, dead on arrival.
Dwebs, go to the corner.
Now, folks, we do know that Now, folks, we do know that the game did sell well, but apparently it sold less than it probably would have if, it didn't piss so many people off.
Well, obviously.
Well, actually, it was the. I'll look it up again in a second because I just had it. I'll wait for the scene to be over.
Okay.
Jackson is a wonderful place, but we got tired
Oh.
of hearing the stories of people suffering everywhere else.
So why did you make this game then?
Good intentions.
So there you go. The teenagers that ran away last year ended up here.
We've decided to
And they turned out dead for it.
And they were bitten.
tell our family and friends that we're sorry. Like Adam and Sydney.
Those are probably one of the corpses we just shot.
For sure.
Yep.
I can't take my own life. I'm a fucking coward.
And that was probably written by the zombie we just killed.
Mm-hmm.
Figure.
Exactly.
That's a rude thing to say over the dead bodies. If only they were immune.
She doesn't mean she doesn't mean it like that, Webs. She's trying to bring it up the conversation to Joel.
It reminds me of when of that scene in Deathly Hallows Part 1 where Harry was over his dead parents' graves and Hermione says, "Merry Christmas, Harry."
Yeah.
I've never met another immune person before.
Well, for all you know, there are more. That doesn't necessarily mean just because you haven't met one, that doesn't mean there aren't.
It's a big world.
Yeah, Joel said they could be hiding it.
That too, yeah.
Do you believe that?
Is now really the time for this?
We traveled across the entire country to bring me up the Fireflies. I had so many questions for them. Why did you pull me out of there while I was still unconscious?
Oh boy.
Because I let them run the tests. And when I saw that they were useless, I got us out.
I have to really compliment Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker. As always, they're absolutely brilliant in these roles.
Figured something out.
There was no cure. There's nothing that could help these people or anybody else. I know you wish things were different. I wish things were different.
Join the club, Joel.
I'd like to say that. I would like to say something about what he just said, but I'll wait till it's over. Well, technically it is over, but Shiri actually had something to say first. Go ahead, Shiri.
Yeah, just very briefly. But yeah, for the opening weekend, it did sell 4 million, which, according to this, it was the fastest selling opening weekender for the PS4. But the game also did drop sales by 80% the following week.
Yep.
And I get, hang on, wait a second. I get that, obviously the second week sales aren't going to be as high, but 80% seems like
It's a big drop,
a
actually.
plummet.
Now, to be fair, there are several things outside of this game's control that could have impacted sales. Maybe it was only recently that they started lifting coronavirus restrictions on shops that sell these games.
This is true, but a lot of people probably bought it digitally.
Yeah, and online
And
sales,
also ordering for, mail order.
and when it comes with a lot of gamers, a lot of times they'll order stuff online as well. So, yeah, and not only that, we've seen this happen with a lot of movies as
okay.
well.
Well, not
Also, I
everyone
think
likes
if
to do
the-
that, though, Joe.
I know, but
I
I
don't.
I think if the opening
Oh,
weekend
hold on.
also
Jova, here it
saw,
is.
I think if the opening weekend also saw iffy
There you go.
sales, then you would have had a point, Dwibs. But I don't think.
You see, Jova, it wasn't the right time.
Oh, great, fantastic!
When's it ever the right time?
It's never going to be the right time. That's the point of conversations like this. You gotta have it.
Long story short, good opening sales numbers, but it doesn't look like it's gonna have long legs. And for a Naughty Dog game, that's pretty bad.
Mhm.
Okay, Pedro, what did you want to say regarding what
Yes.
Joel said earlier?
Well, actually, I'll wait till this is over. I can.
This hospital?
That reminds me, Jova. We're about to see what is apparently Dina, calling Ellie out on her obsession. Yeah.
Indeed.
Is now really the time, Dina?
Hold
That's
on,
what
hold
I'll
on.
say.
She could be gone by then.
Oh.
Her
Hold on.
location. Maybe Tommy does too. What?
What?
There you go. See, she
Really,
writes like I said.
Dina, you're going-
There you go. See, she writes like I said. She's the enabler type. She just enables everything that Ellie does.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to tell her.
But,
You're one of those kinds of friends, Dina. You're literally the coward or the supposed bystander here. Oh yeah, sure, you can say that you supposedly tried, but in reality, you really didn't.
Yeah. To finish my thought, that's the interesting thing. And by no means I am not trying to argue that Joel is now suddenly a good person, because and I've already brought this up before anyway, so you guys already know how this is when it comes to when I stand about that matter anyway. But the point is, what's the thing is, here's the thing. Joel saved Ellie because he could not stand the idea of losing another daughter, but at the same time, I actually believe when he says that he wished things were different. That he did. By that he means, again, of course, Ellie will interpret the way that fits Joel's lie. However, I get the feeling that what Joel really means is he wish we would have been able to find a cure without having to kill you. So even though, of course, Joel's actions were morally questionable, like we've talked about, I do at the very least believe that he would have no problem with. They would have liked for a cure to be up, and he just wasn't. He was just incredibly emotional and selfish about not wanting to go through that horrible trauma again. Again, like I've said, Joel is by far the most compelling character in this entire fucking franchise, and we get so little of him in this fucking game.
It's like I said before. It's like, when you get down to it, if only, there was no guarantee that, killing Ellie would have even gotten this cure. And who's to say that the Fireflies wouldn't have weaponized this cure, or only given it to those they deemed worthy of their own political agenda or whatnot? It doesn't help that Ellie was never given the chance to. And unfortunately for Joel, if he didn't fight his way through, they were going to kill Ellie. So, God, it really is a morally gray issue here.
All right, everybody. So tune in next time, where unfortunately we have to get back to the main plot. So
again,
see ya.